Welcome up! In this episode, we will talk about what is a meritocracy. Coming up. Hello, I'm Understanding Politics, and in this channel I talk about political theories and debates to students, as well as curious and passionate people, just like you. So if you like my videos, consider subscribing. Meritocracy is an organization where people is moved to position of success and power based on their merit. In fact, the word is composed by the Latin term merit and by the usual Greek ending that identifies regimes, kratos, meaning power. Meritocracy is ideally a system opposed to hereditary aristocracy, nepotism, which is a system where familial relationships prevail over fair processes of selection, or even kakistocracy, the rule of the worst. The first thing to consider when talking about meritocracy is that it does not deal directly with the power administration. So any country in the world can claim of having a meritocratic system. On paper, a meritocracy is what every person on earth seems to desire. In fact, in a truly democratic system, you can achieve any possible result, and the outcome derives simply from your efforts. In other words, if you lose, it is because you have not been good enough, not because the system is flawed. Nevertheless, if you find yourself wandering online, you will find out that even though meritocracy seems like a good idea, most sources end up criticizing its basic assumptions. While fundamentally correct, these critiques are often incomplete because they limit their analysis to the concept of meritocracy applied to economy. But the concept works really well also in politics. Let's start from the flaws: meritocracy in economy. Supporters of meritocracy will argue that if you're able to level the playing field, then everybody will be able to succeed in life. And so successes and failures will depend solely on the efforts of individuals. This is the idea at the core of the American dream, having a society so mobile that you can move up and down on the social ladder as you please. Nevertheless, there are a few assumptions to dismantle here. Firstly, the fact that success in life is determined by capital accumulation. You are successful if you have plenty of money, not if you are realized or satisfied with your life. Secondly, you are successful only if you are a productive member of the society. If you do not produce, you are a failure, even if you are emotionally fulfilled and the people around you rely on you for care and advice. Thirdly, that you can level the playing field. Even if we guarantee free education up to the highest levels, there is no way that we can exclude things such as inheritance of wealth or a happy childhood from the myriads of factors that influence our ability to succeed in life. According to Max Weber, the idea that capitalism is meritocratic derives from the Calvinist idea on predetermination that led to believe that somehow economic success is God's reward. Nevertheless, capitalism is not meritocratic. If you are from Western Europe, there is a high chance that your parents owned already a house at your age. Maybe they did not graduate from university and they earned 10 times what you earn after years of specialization. Millennials are not lazier than their parents, and certainly it is not avocado toast to prevent us from buying houses. And yes, God does not hate us. As a matter of fact, this idea of meritocracy seems stronger in more unequal societies, where those at the top use this argument to justify the status quo. A research of 2007 highlighted that as much as 84% of people in the UK and 69% in the US believe that their success is mostly determined by their intelligence and skill and less by external factors. From a psychological perspective, this holds, because people who believe that their success is the result of their intelligence and skill tend to be less generous than those who believe that the outcome is the result of luck. On the contrary, in his book of 2016, Success and Luck, Robert Frank argued that it is luck that largely determines the success of individuals, particularly when competing with a pool of many other competent and skilled individuals. When asked about my PhD experience, I also point out luck as one of the main reasons that got me chosen in the first place. While I do not question my skills, I cannot but acknowledge that I was not entitled to a chance any more than other equally brilliant candidates. I just call myself brilliant. And this brings us to the last point, which is the fact that merit can be determined only to a certain extent, because we are all so similar that at some point differences become totally irrelevant. And now the strengths of meritocracy, a meritocratic political system. One of the reasons why Plato never supported democracy was that democracy doomed Socrates to death. Similarly, Jesus was convicted by a group of shouting people, not by Pontius Pilate. Is it Pilate? 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 Pilates? That proverbially washed his hands on the matter. If you put together a group of people that do not know anything about a specific issue, it is extremely unlikely that they will decide wisely, even if they vote by majority. Similarly, in a representative democracy, we know that politicians can fool the electorate, even though they are utterly incompetent. If meritocracy was the rule of thumb of our democracies, then we would actually have representatives competent on the issues they would have to deal with. In other words, meritocracy can improve representative democracy through competence. A good example comes from Italy. Nowadays, our Minister of Foreign Affairs is Luigi Di Maio, head of the Five Star Movement. The problem is that Di Maio has been the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Foreign Affairs in two subsequent governments, while not having prepared for either role. Often mocked because he never graduated from university, and for the fact that his first job ever was indeed the Minister of Labor, he's just not competent, even though he might be a competent political leader for his own party. This partially explains why Italy has a taste for governments led by so-called technical advisors. Mario Monti and Giuseppe Conte are only two recent examples. In fact, having often to deal with incompetent politicians, we seldom opt for non-political technical advisors. This schizophrenia is bad, and both choices are harmful. A functioning liberal democracy should have representatives that are both politically oriented and competent. But nowadays, it feels like democracy is not meritocratic at all. To conclude, meritocracy shines when it strengthens competence in any realm. Lecture is over, thanks for watching. As always, all the sources will be linked in the references section of this video description. If you like, well, you know.